Good morning, students. This is Rafi G. Aguilar, your teacher in the disciplines on ideas in the social sciences. Today, we have a new lesson. But before we proceed, don't forget to visit our official website at www.gaitf.com. I repeat, www.gaitf.com. Don't forget to log in your account there and visit the learning path, download the activities and quizzes I have uploaded there, especially the modules. Then, should we proceed? We shall. Okay. Students, our lesson for this morning is all about the basic concepts and principles of psychoanalysis. Before we begin, I have a question. Do you have any prior knowledge about this lesson? About what are the concepts and the principles of psychoanalysis? And what is psychoanalysis? We'll find out when we will proceed to the next slide. Excited to know what are this all about? Then, I will not make it longer anymore. Let's begin. To begin with our formal discussion, I have prepared our objectives for this morning. So this will be our objectives. First, understand the concepts and principles of psychoanalysis. So we are going to understand the concepts or the ideas and of course the principles of psychoanalysis. So what is this psychoanalysis all about? We'll find it out later. Second, analyze the psychodynamics of the person's personality in terms of id, ego, and superego. So the person's personality in terms of the id, the ego, and the superego. So we don't have the idea what is this ego, the id, and the superego all about. We will find out what are these personality of a human or of a person. Next, interpret personal and social experiences relating to defense mechanism techniques. So what are these mechanism techniques? Defense mechanism techniques. And letter D, understand the concept and principles of rational choice. So what are these rational choice all about? We'll discuss that later. Then predict the social consequences of making decision and action. Okay, what are the consequences of making decisions and actions? And last but not the least, interpret personal and social experiences relating to rational choice. So we are going to interpret our personal and social experiences relating to the rational choice. So what is this rational choice all about? So this will be our objectives for this morning. As usual, these objectives will be obtained at the end of the lesson. So, shall we start now? Okay. The idea of psychoanalysis is the notion that people have unconscious mind. When we say unconscious mind, the person or our mind, what? Is not fully aware. When we say not fully aware, you are not aware of what is happening, of your environment, of your mind. Unconscious mind, meaning you don't know anything or you don't know what is happening around you. That is unconscious mind. You don't know anything of what is happening. That is the meaning of unconscious mind, which includes things that are extrinsic or outside. When we say extrinsic, that is outside of our awareness. So beyond of our awareness. This may include early childhood memories, hidden drives, and secret desires. Okay, let's talk about childhood memories. Are you aware of your memories from your childhood? How about hidden drives? And of course, your secret desires. What are your secret desires? Your intention, your feeling, your emotions. What are your that leads to your desires? Your secret desires, something like the person you admire most. Those are the secret desires that you yourself should keep that one. Not other will know about that. This holds things that may be socially unacceptable or unpleasant. When I say unpleasant, it's not proper. Yeah, it's not proper because this might cause conflict or suffering. Okay, so this can cause conflict or suffering. Conflict can cause trouble and of course suffering. So who will be the one to suffer? So you yourself, right? So these things are buried in our unconscious mind. So we will leave it in through our unconscious mind. They could be outside of our awareness and might keep influencing our thoughts and actions. Another idea is the conscious mind. So the conscious mind is the opposite of the unconscious, right? If the unconscious mind means that you are not aware of what is happening, the conscious mind is different from the unconscious mind. Because the conscious mind, you are aware of what is happening. Remember that, class? So conscious mind, which includes everything that are intrinsic. When we say intrinsic, it is inside, no? It is within ourselves or inside of awareness that can easily bring into consciousness. So, can easily bring into consciousness. It's inside of our awareness, meaning you are aware of what is happening. That brings into consciousness. When you say consciousness, you are aware of what is happening. So that's the idea of psychoanalysis. The notion that people have unconscious mind and of course the conscious mind. When you say unconscious, it could be what? Things that are intrinsic or outside or beyond our awareness. So example for that, childhood memories, hidden drives, and secret desires. While the conscious mind, we are aware of what is happening. So that is the idea of psychoanalysis. Conscious mind and unconscious mind. So questions before we proceed? None? Then we'll proceed. To understand further, psychoanalysis is characterized as the therapeutic techniques and set of psychological theories initiated by Simon Freud or Sigmund Freud on the year 1856 to the year 1939. So, Sigmund Freud was the one who characterized as the therapeutic techniques. When we say therapeutic techniques, it can be used for treatment. For those who needs attention about their behavior, about their, about having a problem with their mind. So this can be used so that it's psychoanalysis and a techniques and set of psychological theories initiated by Sigmund Freud. He developed the methods of treatment, and general theory of personality. The main cognitive idea of psychoanalysis is that people have unconscious mind, memories, feelings, and desires. So let's break it down before we proceed to the next slides. Have unconscious mind. So as we discussed earlier, unconscious means you are what? You are not aware of what is happening. So this may include outside or in extrinsic or outside your awareness. So it's beyond awareness. While the conscious, you are aware. You are fully aware of what is happening. This introduces a perspective on psychological illness. When we say psychological illness, there is something wrong with your mind. Or let's say your mind is not wired correctly. No? Something like that. That's according to my instructor, Sir Perioso, that our minds are wired differently. Yes. Which convey that talking with psychologists about certain problem could relieve a person from suffering mental distress. See, of course, discussing the personal problems or personal experiences, mental from suffering mental distress. So that's psychoanalysis all about. So any questions about the psychoanalysis before we proceed? Okay, then we'll proceed now. Okay. So the image shown on the screen is Sigmund Freud. According to Freud in the year 1949, psychoanalysis method has important corresponding steps to be followed. Of course. So, according to him, psychoanalysis method has important corresponding steps. So, what are these steps to be followed? First, a psychoanalyst collects substantial things which are a product of patients' pre-associations, results of transference, dream interpretation, and the patient's sleeps and parapraxis. So that includes the interview, the dream interpretation of the patient, the result of transference, and the patient's sleeps and parapraxis. So that includes the interview. The second one is a second. Psychoanalyst starts to give hypotheses. So this hypothesis, what are these hypotheses? These hypotheses are the answers. Tentative answers to that particular information or scenario based on the result from the first step. So develop a hypothesis, a tentative answers, meaning it's not yet the correct answers on the given result based on the pre-association, the result of transference from the first steps of the patient. So second, a psychoanalyst starts to give hypotheses about what occurred to the patients in the past and what is the present occurrence on their day-to-day life. So based on the result, the psychoanalyst can give answers to that. A tentative answers, meaning it's partial. It's not yet official. It's not yet proven. It's partial, meaning it's tentative. It's not yet proven. So based on the result, so from past experiences of the patient up to the present and to the future it will be. It is also important that a psychoanalyst gives conclusions which are supported upon their observations once the patients have arrived with similar conclusions on their own. So, it's important that the analyst will give conclusions to the scenario or to the situation. It is because when a psychoanalyst discloses their conclusions to patients as early as it was, the patients may resist and repression happens. When the patients accepted the conclusions, they recovered. So that's according to Freud in the year 19. Now let's proceed to the three personality structures. So what are these three personality structures? So as you can see on the image, it is an iceberg. So the three personality structures are the id, the ego, and the super ego. So what is this three personality all about? So we'll find out what is this all about. Freud conceptualized three personality structures: the id, the ego, and the superego. So what is id? The id includes entirely of the unconscious, underlying, and primal urge present from birth, which operates based on instinct and pleasure directed. While ego is the portion of the personality that deals with the demands of reality. It aids control and balance on the urges of the id and makes us act in ways that are both acceptable and realistic, instead of satisfying our desires. Furthermore, the superego includes our values and ideals. The values that our parents taught us and the ideals that our society instills in us are the guiding force of the superego and its effort to make us believe with accordance to our morals. So what are the three personality? Of course, the id. So according to the definition given, which was Freud conceptualized, that the id includes entirely of the unconscious. So it is completely unconscious and is the sort of psychic energy derived from instinctual needs and drives. So that is the id. While the ego, so what is the ego? So Freud conceptualized that the ego is the portion of the personality that deals with the demands of reality. So it is the self, especially as concentrated with another self or the world. So that is the ego. And the superego includes our values. So that includes our conscience, right? Our morality, if it's good or bad. That is the superego. So it's effort to make us behave with accordance to our morals. So that is, these are the three personality. What? The three personality as conceptualized by Freud. So the id, the ego, and the superego. Remember that. So next, we have the defense mechanism. Reveal and understand your subconscious mind. That is psychology. So what is a defense mechanism? A defense mechanism is a technique that the ego uses to defend itself from anxiety. This defensive way acts as a protection when something seems too overpowering or even improper. Defense mechanisms help keep the information from entering consciousness in order to lessen distress. Types of defense mechanisms. So what are the types of defense mechanisms? Rationalization, justification of an unacceptable behavior. Intellectualization, reasoning to block emotional distress. Reaction formation, changing unwanted emotions or feelings. Acting out, carrying out an extreme behavior, so acting out. Projection, transferring the drive or behavior that causes anxiety to others. Dissociation, separating out of the memories one can deal with or doesn't want. Compartmentalization, separating part of oneself from awareness of other parts. Displacement, transferring of negative emotion from one person or thing. Regression, seeking the safety of an earlier development stage. Sublimation, diverting intolerable impulse to socially desirable one. Compensation, balancing apparent weakness by accentuating strength. Repression, unconscious forgetting of unwanted thought or trauma. Suppression, conscious type of forgetting to escape from the problem. Splitting, seeing everything as bad with nothing in between. Using humor, directing on funny aspects of a painful situation. Next, we will proceed to the rational choice theory. So what is this rational choice theory? That is the lesson 2, the basic concept and principles of rational choice. Rational choice. The rational choice theory, or RCT, emerged during behavioral revolution in American political science between 1950s and 1960s. That's according to Ward's 2002. Positivists greatly influenced the theories, specifically Auguste Comte, 1798, on his works in the 19th century, and Vienna's Circle of Logical Positivism in the year 1920s. Behaviorists follow the perspective of positivism, close to the natural explanation of empirical theory, in which behaviorists consider the following. So what are these? The following. First, observable behavior should be the concentration of analysis. Observable behavior. Okay, so that includes the behavior shown on that particular person. Second, any explanation of that behavior should be susceptible to empirical testing. That's according to Sanders in 2002. Rational choice affirmed that behavior and social life of a person as a whole can be explained through a person's rational choices. This approach can be used to know why a person behaves or acts the way he or she does. The rational choice fundamental assumption is that an individual action is based on their conduct on logical process. They take action with reasons when making choices. Their choices are intended for their pleasure or gain. In rational choice, social norms and moral considerations are not part of the notion of the human actions. The human person nature is egocentric and primarily concerns to self-interest. Consciences or moral views are not part of conceptual attention. Anyhow, such thoughts would simply be understood as integrated into a person's inclinations and not part of a multi-value communally shared complex. As a whole, matter of morality and ethical conduct have to be elevated and examined outside rational choice. However, humans are moral beings. Moral thoughts come into a person's decision and courses of action. A person's relations stimulate concepts of objectivity, righteousness, and the human purpose as foundations of moral obligation. An example of this is the adherence of a church group to others' expectation of helping the poor and the homeless. Left and right. So this is rational choice. Making decision and action. So you are making decision or action. Like for example on the image. Same product. But different in taste, right? So same price as well. Rational choice theory is the perspective that people act as they do, since they think that acting on their chosen human activity has much profit than cost. That is, a person does rational choices founded on their goals, and those decisions determine their conduct. Several sociologists use rational choice theory to justify social change. For them, social change happens because man have made rational choices. It can be the influence of the people around them so that they will decide, or it could be their self to which of the bread he or she will buy, will choose. So it depends upon the decision. So that is rational choice theory. In economics, opportunity cost corresponds the profits of an individual when choosing one's best alternative over another. Same thing can be applied when making decisions based on scarcity of resources. The fact that many people wanted those things made those things insufficient, and they settled on the alternatives with the same or more value. In this situation, rational choice applied after an individual weighs the costs and benefits of those choices. So it's about the matter of quantity over quantity. On the other hand, rational choice theory has been criticized for its enormously impractical conventions about human actions. The following are some of the critics of rational choice theory, or the RCT. First, the element that social norms, linkages, institutions, and the processes of socialization influence how an individual makes choice and acts. So, it will influence the decision of that person. So, institution, linkages, norms, social norms, those are the influence can influence of an individual to make choices and acts. Second, a person's behavior is influenced in many aspects, situations or problems surrounding him or her. Also, the moral significances of these courses related with their characters and relations. 3. People follow norms of reciprocity, righteousness, and selflessness, which explicitly develop their behavior. And last, people are controlled by their culture, institutions, and rules as to behave, think, and act the way he or she does. So, people are controlled, meaning they cannot make their own decision. And that's all our lesson for this morning. Thank you, students, for having your time with me. I hope you've understand our lesson. Don't forget to visit our official website. And of course, download the modules I have uploaded there. And of course, answer the activities and quizzes I have prepared for you all. So thank you and stay safe, everyone. Bye. God bless everyone.